What's up everyone, my name is Marie, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. So for today's speed build, I am building an apartment in San Myshuno. It's the 17 Culpeper house in San Myshuno. And yeah, it kind of speaks for itself. You can already see it in the title, but I am decorating this apartment for a grandma. Could also be a grandpa, obviously, but I just really felt like building something cutesy for a grandma. So I was imagining that this grandma is living alone. I just thought it was really fun to build something else that is inspired by the nifty knitting pack. So I did use a whole bunch of the decorations that we got with the pack, but I did make it a little bit less like cutesy and colorful than the previous build that I did that was inspired by the pack. It's still very cute and but just a little bit more muted but still kind of perfect for grandma, at least in my opinion. And I'm using carpet in this build again, which is something that I am not really used to doing, but like I also mentioned in my last video that was inspired by nifty knitting, this pack for some reason really inspires me to use carpet, and I don't know why. I don't know, it's probably because of the whole grandma vibe that it has going for it. I think that has something to do with it, but yeah, like you can see, the colors are fairly neutral. I use a lot of darker brown in the wood tones because for some reason that suits a grandma in my opinion, and also because the front door is a darker wood tone and you can't change the swatch of that because this is an apartment. So that kind of inspired me to use darker wood tones throughout the rest of the apartment as well. But you can kind of see that the floor plan already came together. I really wanted to, in the beginning, I wanted to give this apartment an extra bedroom so the grandma could have like her grandkid coming over or something. So that's something that I wanted to do, but I just decided against it. You will see later on that I will add another little room, but that is going to be the craft room. So I was thinking that originally that little craft room used to be like an extra bedroom, but the grandma, she turned it into a craft room because that's what she needed the space for. And I was imagining that she did have family and she does have grandchildren, but she will most likely visit them instead of them visiting her. Like, they will come over, of course, but they won't spend the night, because I was imagining that her whole family kind of lives close by in the area in San Myshuno, so there's really no need for them to spend the night. So yeah, that's kind of what I was imagining. I was kind of struggling with the floor plan for this living area. I don't know why, probably because it was so square, like it's just a big box, and that always kind of makes it difficult to find a good layout for, at least in my opinion. But in a little while you will see that I will add in another little square room that is going to be the craft room. So that kind of will give the space a little bit more shape to it, if that makes any sense, and that did make it a little bit easier to figure out the floor plan for it. But yeah, basically I did have a fun storyline in mind for this grandma. So like I mentioned, she lives alone, and I do think that I definitely gave her items for a cat. So I was imagining that she is living alone with her cat. And yeah, for the storyline, what I was thinking, this grandma, she grew up in San Myshuno. Like, this is where she was born and raised, and she loves the big city. And then when she went to university, I think she used to be a teacher at like a middle school or something, but she is retired now, obviously, because she's a grandma. I mean, not all grandmas are by definition retired, but I was imagining that this grandma, she's retired. So she was studying to become a teacher at a middle school, and then when she was in university, she met her soulmate, her husband. So they met, and he was studying to be something else. I don't really know what his job was, but he did not grow up in San Myshuno. He did live here for a little while because he was going to school close by the city, so he moved to the city to kind of experience that whole thing. But he was born and raised in Brindleton Bay, I was thinking. So they met in university, and when they graduated, they decided to move back to Brindleton Bay because that was the best option for the grandpa, I mean. He could probably like get a job there, or like take over the family company or something, like take over the family firm, if that makes any sense. So that's what I was imagining. And the grandma, even though she was born and raised in the city and she loves city life, she has always kind of dreamt of moving to the countryside, because that to her sounds so romantic and fun and just different, and it has always been something that she wanted to experience in life. So once they decided that at some point they wanted to start a family, they kind of decided to move to the countryside, buy a little house there, renovate a little house for them to live together and to have kids and start their family. So that's kind of what happened for this grandma and her husband. So they were really happy for years and years to come. And I was imagining that they had twins. They had 2 twin daughters, I was imagining. And so yeah, they were really happy living the family life in Brindleton Bay in the countryside. And but at some point when the kids were already a little bit older, they were probably like in high school or something, the dad, the grandpa in the storyline, he got really sick. He got ill, which is really sad. So for a few years, they just kind of had to deal with it, and it was all fine. Well, it wasn't fine, of course, but they took care of the granddad, and for a few years he was doing really well. But then at some point he wasn't doing so well anymore, and when the kids were like already in university, so he had been sick for a long time, for years. So when the kids went to university, when they were already in university for a couple of years, unfortunately the dad, he passed away from the illness, which obviously is really sad, but it's a thing that happens in life, and it's a thing that people have to get through and have to live with. But the family, they were fortunate enough to have each other. They were a really close family. The twins were really close to their mom and to each other, so they kind of got through it together, and yeah, they just kept living their lives to the fullest. But of course, it's really sad, and the grandma, she was really sad for years because she lost her soulmate, and he wasn't supposed to die so young, basically. But then at some point, they were just living their lives, the grandma and her kids. And at some point the kids, they graduated university and they wanted to start jobs of their own, careers of their own, and they moved to the city. They moved back to the city where their mom grew up, because that would give them the best opportunities for jobs, for their career, and they just really wanted to live the city life. That was kind of what they wanted. So the kids, they moved out, they moved to San Myshuno, they got apartments, they started families of their own, and then at a certain point, the grandma was like, okay, I gotta leave my life in Brindleton Bay, I gotta leave it behind. As much as I love it here, and even though she has so many great memories of their family living there, at that point, she was all alone in their house. Their kids were kind of far away. They were living in the city. So she decided that it was time to let go of her life in Brindleton Bay and move back to the city that she grew up in, the city that she has always loved. So it was kind of time for her to let go of her past, even though she loves her husband very much, even though he's passed away, and it's not something that she's trying to forget. But she is just really trying to move on with her life, because that's what her husband would have wanted as well. So that's what she did. She decided to sell the house and get a little apartment in San Myshuno, somewhere in the area where she grew up in. She was lucky enough to find an apartment that was kind of close by the area where she grew up and where she has always been so happy, and where she has great memories and where she feels at home, basically. So she got this apartment, and she has always been really into crafting, really into knitting and everything like that. So she decided that she really wanted to take up her crafting hobby, if that makes sense, and take it a little bit more seriously, because it's something that makes her really happy. So I do imagine that this grandma, she's really socially active. life. She is probably like running some sort of knitting club, some sort of crafting club. She has tons of friends in the city. She's very active. She goes out all the time because she's trying to live her life to the fullest, even though her husband passed away. And she's doing really great at that. Like, she actually is feeling really happy right now, and her kids are close by. Like I mentioned, she doesn't need an extra bedroom for her grandkids to stay over because they live very close by, so they can just sleep at home and visit her anytime, and she can go out and visit her kids and her grandkids anytime. Like, it's just, this is the perfect life for her right now. As perfect as her life was with her husband back in Brindleton Bay, this is what she needs right now because she is on her own again, and yeah, that's why she decided to move back to San Myshuno, make the best of the rest of her life, and she is really thriving. Like, she is really doing very, very well because she is at peace with her past. And yeah, she moved back to San Myshuno. She is really happy right now. And you can see that I also gave her stuff for a cat. So I decided that she moved to the city and got herself a cat because she's always loved cats. They used to have tons of cats when they were living in Brindleton Bay. But for some reason, she was thinking that once I move to an apartment, I probably can't have any cats because then the cat won't be able to go outside, basically, and that's not what she wanted. But then one of her daughters, she was like, you should get a cat because there's tons of cats that are already a little bit older, or cats that don't enjoy going outside, inside cats, basically. So that's kind of what pushed her over the edge, and she decided to get a cat because she loves cats, and that's a way that she can kind of keep in touch with her past. So I thought that was a really cute idea. So yeah, that's basically the storyline that I had in mind for this grandma. For some reason, it kind of came easily to me when I was decorating this apartment because it feels so homey to me. Like, the Culpeper apartments are definitely my favorite apartments in San Myshuno. They are so homey and cute and just cozy in my opinion. So I did not have any trouble furnishing this this apartment at all. Aside from the layout of the living room, that took me a little while. I was struggling with that a little bit, but I think that it came out just the way I wanted it to. But here you can see I moved on to the grandma's bedroom. There's carpet in here as well, and I went for the darker wood tones like I already mentioned. And yeah, the apartment is quite colorful, but not like the most colorful thing you've ever seen. Like, the colors are kind of muted and toned down and just a little bit lighter, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's basically what I was really enjoying about this apartment. And you can see that I used tons of decorations from the Nifty Knitting Stuff Pack. I was imagining that she has a Plopsy store, and she, like I mentioned already, she's probably like running some sort of knitting club or crafting club in general. And she also kind of sells all her creations. Obviously, she knits a lot of things and she creates a lot of things for her kids and for her grandchildren, but she also knits and crafts things to sell on Plopsy. That's kind of an extra source of income for her, and she also really loves doing it. Like, I think that crafting really makes her very, very happy, and it's one of the things that she loves doing most in life. It's kind of what I was imagining. That's why she decided to take it up a little bit more seriously when she moved to the city, because it's something that she needed. It's something that really makes her happy, something that keeps her going, and yeah, just something that she really, really enjoys. So here you can see I used one of those hanging plants. I love those hanging plants. They're so perfect. Like, I already knew that I was going to love them from the get-go, but ever since I actually got my hands on them, they are such a nice space filler, and they immediately give the space just a very cozy look and feel for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just really, it's a really great addition to the game, in my opinion. And yeah, I was also imagining that she really likes plants, so there's a whole bunch of plants everywhere in this apartment that she likes to take care of, and I cluttered up the dresser with just a couple of decorations, a couple of those stones, and a couple of those nifty knitting decorations, and it's a really simple bedroom. It's really nothing too complicated, but I still think it's really cozy and cute. And then here I decorated the bathroom, which is nothing special. It's a very neutral toned bathroom, but I really like the layout for it. It made perfect sense. And I also gave her laundry. I gave her a laundry machine, a washer and a dryer. They are stacked in the hallway next to the closet, or where I was imagining she keeps her coats and shoes and everything. And maybe like her winter clothes or her summer clothes or something like that that do not fit in her dresser in her bedroom. So I gave her a washer and a dryer in the hallway space, which in my opinion fit perfectly and made perfect sense. But yeah, that is basically already going to be it for this apartment. So I really hope that you enjoyed it. You can't download this apartment off the gallery as a room. My gallery username is Simmarysims, and you can place it in 17 Culpeper House in San Myshuno. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next build. Bye!